Merry Christmas, Terratoffians, and welcome to a very special holiday episode of Terratoff Storytime. Are you ready for some holiday cheer? I know I am. Follow me to the Terratoff Snowy Mountains as we meet Holiday the Dragon. I hope all of you are having a magical holiday filled with the spirit of togetherness and gift-giving wherever you are. Gift-giving is actually a very important part of Terratoff customs and traditions, so I wrote a story to celebrate this true spirit of gift-giving and Christmas. We are going to meet a very special little dragon called Holiday and follow him on his adventures in the Terratoff markets for Market Day, where he meets new friends, gets some very special treats, and learns some very important life lessons. Wouldn't be a Christmas story if it didn't involve that, now would it? Join me as we venture forth to meet our very own Holiday the Dragon. Chapter 1. Holiday Gets a Treat. Once there was a little dragon with red and golden scales named Holiday. He lived in the snowy mountains of Terratoff with his grandfather, who he loved very much. One fine day, as the winter winds began to blow, Holiday's grandfather gave him a gift of 4 glittering golden coins. Surprised, the young dragon exclaimed, "But grandfather, those belong in your treasure hoard. You can't give them to me." His grandfather chuckled and replied, "You are my only true treasure, my boy, and your smile's brighter than any coin. My hoard of treasures means nothing if I cannot share them with you." Holiday smiled brightly and said, "Then I shall use these coins to start my very own hoard, just like you, grandfather." But his grandfather gently shook his head no. "There will be plenty of time for building hoards, my boy. I give these coins to you today for something else, for it is market day down in the village, and I wish for you to go down and see." "Market day?" Holiday asked. "Whatever is that?" His grandfather gave a knowing grin and said, "Go down to the village and see for yourself. Follow the lights along the mountain pass, and you shall find your way there before long, my boy." Clutching his coins with delight, Holiday agreed, and so he set out of their cave for the village at the foot of their mountain, wondering what adventures awaited below. Chapter 2. Holiday Gets a Painting. Holiday ventured down the path from atop his snowy mountain home to the village below. He carried his golden coins in his claws. They were large and a bit heavy for him, but he was so excited to see Market Day, he didn't even mind. He followed the lights just as his grandfather told him to the village square, and was in awe of what he found. The village was filled with every kind of magical creature, all of them filled with joy. Each of them greeted him with a warm smile as he entered the snow-covered main road. They were gathered around small wagon huts made of 4 wooden posts, wooden wheels, and a straw roof. The sides of the wagons and their roofs were decorated with glittering glenstones that sparkled in the snow. Each hut had a cast iron lamppost shining beside it, and a creature of magic standing guard nearby. Holiday saw that the entire road was lined with these wagons, and that each one had different treasures inside. He went up to the first wagon he saw for a closer look, and saw beautiful pictures of creatures in enchanted forests displayed inside. "Welcome to Market Day," the fawn standing beside the wagon said with a bow. "How may I be of service, young one?" "Happy Market Day," Holiday replied. "Grandfather sent me here to see what the day was all about, so here I am." "I see," the fawn replied. "Did Grandfather Dragon give you some coin to spend at the market today?" "I think so," Holiday said. "He told me I wasn't supposed to hoard them." The fawn chuckled. "That sure sounds like Grandfather Dragon to me. Well, my boy, if you like what you see, then take your pick. One of my paintings for one of your coins. What do you say?" Holiday looked closely at all the fawn's fine-looking pictures and saw one of a blue unicorn with red hair running through a night forest. "This unicorn has red hair like my scales," he exclaimed. "I'd like this one very much, please," he said, handing over one of his coins in exchange for the painting. "Ah, the dark unicorns only come out at night, you know," the fawn said, pointing to the unicorn. "They are good at hiding and extremely hard to spot. Good thing you found this one." Holiday smiled as he gazed upon his new painting, holding it high as he admired its every detail while he made his way down the road. He had 3 coins left and was eager to see what other treasures he could find on market day. Chapter 3. Holiday Gets a Stick-and-See. With 3 of the golden coins that his grandfather gave him remaining, Holiday continued on down the village road to explore the rest of the Market Day Festival. He heard cheerful music playing and could smell the steam of warm drinks nearby. Everything inside him felt cozy, safe, and happy. He looked at the many decorated wagons as he continued walking, eyeing up the riches they held inside. He came upon one with more pictures, but these looked different than the ones he saw before. Holiday scampered up to the cart and pointed up at a picture of a blue and green dragon that roared over the sea. "What's that?" he asked the white hare standing nearby. The hare wiggled his nose excitedly and replied, "This, my boy, is a stick-and-see. Take a look at how it works." With that, the hare took hold of one of the pictures of the dragon and peeled away a piece of parchment that clung to its back. Holiday could have sworn he saw the dragon's nostrils flare and its eyes glimmer. But pictures couldn't do that. Could they? Holiday watched in amazement as the hare slapped the picture against the side of his cart. The picture clung to the wall like glue, and then the dragon moved around in circles within the frame of the picture, snarling quietly, then falling back into its original pose after just a few rotations. Did that picture just move?" Holiday asked in disbelief. "Yes," the hare explained. "A stick-and-see captures a memory just like a picture. But when you stick it onto a flat surface, it reanimates that memory. It only lasts for a few moments, but they say stick-and-sees enchant and bless the surface they are placed on." Holiday held up a coin eagerly. "That stick-and-see is a dragon like me! I'd like to take that one home with me, please." The hare happily traded the dragon for his coin, telling him all about his new stick-and-see. "The Leviathan is a fierce and powerful dragon. He will protect whatever you place him on and keep your belongings safe." Holiday was overjoyed with his find and carried his new stick-and-see proudly as he wondered where he could place him inside their cave. He knew his grandfather would love to see it. With 2 coins left, Holiday was only halfway through his journey. He still had plenty of treasures left to find for Market Day. Chapter 4. Holiday Gets Story Cards. Holiday had acquired 2 wonderful treasures with the coins his grandfather had gifted him for Market Day, and he still had 2 coins remaining. As he strode through the village square, his heart filled with delight at the sight of so many friendly and jovial creatures. The twinkling lights made him feel a sense of wonder as the sun began to set and the snow started to softly fall around him. Next to one of the wagon stalls, he saw a few cot kittens quietly gathered round a table. They held little cards of parchment in their paws and looked like they were focusing intently. One of the kittens, a gray one with white whiskers, noticed Holiday watching them. She waved at him to come closer and invited him to take a seat at one of the vacant tree stumps they were sitting on. "Hello, my name is Holiday. Are you playing a game with your siblings, kitten?" The gray kitten smiled and nodded, holding up her cards to show him. "Yes, Dragonkin, these are story cards. Have you ever seen them before?" Holiday shook his head no. The kitten's ears perked up, and she eagerly wiggled closer to him to show off her collection. The small cards had drawings on the front and a story written on the back in fresh black ink. She fanned out her cards with pride, showing off her collection of owls, Capricorns, and more. I'm trying to trade some of my story cards with my brother for some of his. It's fun to keep a story for a while, and then trade it for another so you can learn a new story." "Oh," Holiday exclaimed, "I like stories, and the cards are so pretty." "Sometimes you just don't have the time for a whole book, you know," the kitten replied. "I like to choose one from my collection every morning and keep the story in my mind for the day. Sometimes the stories teach me things. Isn't that right, Mama? What is it you call them again?" The black mother cat guarding the stall smiled. Looking down at her daughter, she said, "Morals, my dear. Every story has something to teach us. The moral of the story is the lesson hidden inside." "My grandfather teaches me lessons too," Holiday piped up. The mother cat smiled and said, "He seems like a very good and wise grandfather indeed." Holiday stood up and said, "I want to be wise like my grandfather." He held up a coin and asked, "May I have a story card, please?" "For one of those, you could have a few, my dear," the mother cat said as she handed him a whole bunch of cards. Holiday's eyes grew wide as he fanned out the tiny pictures in his claws, just as the kitten had done. "Ooh, can I see what you got?" asked the gray kitten. "Yes," Holiday replied with a grin. "Let's sit down and read the stories together. Maybe we can even trade." Holiday sat down with his new friend as they carefully examined each card and read the stories aloud to one another. He decided to take his time and enjoy the conversation. With just one more golden coin left, his adventures on Market Day were almost at an end. Chapter 5. Holiday Gets an Art Mat. Holiday happily skipped down the market's snowy road as he shuffled through his story cards. He had traded some of his with a gray kitten, and was especially pleased to have gotten a rare and brightly colored Karen card. As he held up his cards, suddenly one was caught by the wind, and it flew right out of his claws. He chased it down the road until it gently landed on a bit of stone in the road, uncovered by snow. He bent down to lift it up, but his claws had trouble gripping it against the slippery rock. After a few attempts, he finally managed to pick up his card. Triumphantly holding it, he noticed another stall nearby, with a kitsune calling out to the crowd. "Art mats! Get your art mats here!" Holiday saw that his stall was filled with colorful sheets of cloth that hung from the sides of his cart. They depicted imagery of all kinds of magical creatures, some even of scenes of legendary battles. Holiday came closer and gazed at the mats. Their colors were so bright, and the fabric felt soft to the touch. "They are very pretty, Kitsune, but what need do I have for one of these?" he asked as politely as he could. The kitsune's four-tails swished softly as he brushed the snow away from the wheels of his stall. Then he reached up and took down a mat depicting a silver filigree stag standing in an ethereal emerald forest. Caressing the fabric, he said, "Now, I know you paid good coin for those cards, my lad, maybe even traded for some really special ones. These cards get touched a lot, creatures pass them around, and they show them off. Well, all that touching and tossing about is hard on these cards, you see. They can get worn down by all the movement and going from place to place. Wooden tables can scratch and scrape them, but not with one of these," he said, eyes glistening as he lifted up the mat. He continued to brush his paws against its surface, showing just how soft and gentle it was. "When you trade or play with your cards on these mats, the card is protected. The cards will last much longer and be easier to pick up than they would be on a table." Holiday looked at his claws and recalled how he struggled to pick up his card that had flown away. He had very nearly accidentally bent it, in fact. He decided then and there that an art mat would be the perfect accessory to accompany his new hobby. He pointed at the mat the kitsune held and said, "This stag has antlers that look like my horns. I'd like to trade you my last coin for this one, good sir." Back at the cave, Grandfather Dragon waited patiently for Holiday to return. Just as the sun was about to vanish into the night, Holiday came flying jubilantly inside, holding a sack of all of the treasures he had collected at the Market Day Festival. Grandfather Dragon smiled, and in a deep voice he bellowed, "And what have you got there, my boy?" Holiday scampered beside him and cuddled up close. They spent the rest of the evening beholding Holiday's bounty as he regaled his grandfather with each of their purposes and the adventures he had had along the way. "Did you have a good market day?" Grandfather Dragon asked. "Oh, yes, I did, Grandfather," he smiled. "Market day is all about fine things and choosing your favorites from all that you see. I quite like it." Grandfather Dragon smiled and frowned at the same time, and then he said in his wisest voice, "Fine things and treasures are wonderful, my boy, but that's not what market day is all about. This is." And he hugged Holiday warmly. At first he didn't understand, but as he looked down at all of his beautiful things, Holiday remembered the past few hours of happiness he had spent sharing them with his grandfather. They had gazed in quiet wonder together at his dark unicorn painting and found hidden details within the brushstrokes. The surprise on Grandfather's face when he saw the stick and see move had made Holiday laugh for a whole hour straight. Grandfather listened intently as Holiday had read him the passages on his story cards. They thoughtfully discussed the stories and lessons they could learn from each one. They made sure to use the art mat with the story cards, and Grandfather told him all about a filigree stag he once knew that looked just like the stag in the fabric. Holiday realized that this time with his grandfather enjoying all of his fine things together had been one of the most fun times he had ever had. He smiled warmly and said, "That's a good moral, Grandfather." Grandfather Dragon's eyes welled up with tears of pride, and he hugged Holiday even tighter. But soon it was time for bed. Holiday went to sleep soundly in his cozy little cave, dreaming of next year's adventure for another marvelous market day. I hope you enjoyed this special holiday episode of Terratoff Storytime and that it gave you good feels for the Christmas day. You can follow along on my channel by hitting subscribe and turning on notifications so you can get an invitation when there's a new Terratoff creature to meet. Follow me on the social media links below to know what is happening daily in the magical realm of Terratoff. And more magic awaits you on patreon.com/Terratoff. That is the only place in the entire internet where your pledge can make you an official Terratoffian for life. Even if it's just $1 a month, it really helps me to continue to create the World of Terratoff. All of my art, stories, and these videos are dedicated to and made possible by my friends on Patreon. Thank you so much for joining me for this special Christmas episode. I hope that your holiday is merry and bright and that you'll join us next year for more adventures with Holiday the Dragon. I have to say, Ambassador of the Holidays. Very important title for a little dragon. Through this. So, almost done. And then we can play Animal Crossing and find a new villager to replace Poppy. Okay. Cut, print, that was perfect. Oscar, Tony, all the awards go to me. I'm the best.